Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much once again for joining us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. We begin right away with the report by Amnesty International that has prompted the reaction of Cameroon's Defense Ministry. Amnesty International has said that because the government of Cameroon is refusing to dialogue with the opposing camp as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned, several persons have continued to die, others being tortured, properties destroyed in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon, and several others being displaced. The human rights group Amnesty International equally accused the Cameroonian government and the separatist fighters for the escalation of violence in the two Anglophone regions of the country. Innocent as it tells us more in this report.
Never again.
Uncountable calls from human rights groups and international organizations for the Anglophone crisis, which erupted in November 2016, to be resolved via inclusive dialogue, have proven barren. We are in 2018 and the socio-political impasse has taken a path of thorns, further complicating the crisis with dialogue now seen by parties as a far-fetched dream. Both sides have rather chosen war, which has resulted to bloodbath on both government and separatist camps in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. A couple of officials abducted this year are still missing. Fuming at the prevailing violence and human rights abuses, Amnesty International on Tuesday accused pro-independence fighters for stabbing to death and shooting of military personnel, burning down of schools and attacking teachers. The organization also accused Cameroon security forces of torturing Anglophone Cameroonians, firing of bullets on crowds, burning down of houses in villages in Anglophone Cameroon, in a spiral of violence that keeps getting more and more deadly. These revelations are contained in a new report on Cameroon's Anglophone crisis titled "A Turn for the Wars: Violence and Human Rights Violations in Anglophone Cameroon." Amnesty International said the report is based on in-depth interviews with over 150 victims and eyewitnesses, as well as material evidence. According to the human rights group, English speakers are in the grip of a deadly cycle of violence as security forces, it added, have indiscriminately killed, tortured and arrested people during military operations, which have also displaced thousands of Anglophone Cameroonians to bushes and neighboring country Nigeria, as well as in their own country, Cameroon. To Amnesty International's Deputy Director for West and Central Africa, violence by the military helps to fuel the unrest than quenching it. Amnesty International publishes this new report after the U.S. ambassador to Cameroon in late May denounced targeted assassinations by government forces and killings of gendarmes by secessionist fighters. This came after the European Union in February called on the Army of Cameroon to proportionate use of force. Unfortunately, the continuous massacre of persons like that in Menka, Santa subdivision of the Northwest region recently, proves government authorities in the nation's political capital Yaoundé have denied to adhere to known killing for the violence to boil down.
And it should be noted that the Defense Ministry, through the head of the Communication Department of the Ministry of Defense in Cameroon, Colonel Bajek, has reacted following the outing yesterday of Amnesty International, qualifying the report by Amnesty International as that which is diabolizing the defense corps in the country. He said that it is simply baseless and does not reflect the defense corps in Cameroon, especially given the fact that they are simply reacting to a wave of violence and attacks perpetrated on them in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Before we come back to the devastating consequences of the Anglophone crisis on examination centers, especially as far as the CEP as well as first school living certificate examinations are concerned, we take you to Lom of the Mongo Division to talk about more than 170 students that have so far been dismissed from some schools in that part of the country. The students were dismissed for recalcitrant behavior, juvenile delinquents and poor academic performance. The principal of the various institutions in the division equally decried lack of government teachers. Let's have the details with Franklin Mwabe.
Some schools in the Mongo division have ended the 2017-2018 academic year, while others are still to close for the long vacation. In Government High School Manjo and in Government High School Loom, the closing was welcomed with mixed feelings. About 117 students of Government High School Manjo and 75 students of Government High School Loom were expelled. Many students in both institutions have been dismissed for being recalcitrant in their hairdo, haircut, dressing, juvenile delinquency, and poor academic performance. According to Mr. Abel Fankam, PTA president of High School Manjo, the problem of the school are the parents who fail to assist the teachers and only show up during Parents-Teachers Association elections. He equally adds that parents are to be blamed for the bad conduct of their children. Another problem is the lack of government teachers in the two establishments. Out of 50 teachers in Manjo High School, 38 are temporary teachers, while 12 are government recruited. In Government High School Loom, 48 teachers are temporal, while 21 are state employed. The burden of paying these teachers falls on the Parent Teachers Association (PTA), and the effect of this is the inability of the school to renovate dilapidated structures.
Un établissement de près de 2000 élèves.
Mrs. KMER Replay, principal of Government High School Manjo, says the school has over 2,000 students, but they have just 12 government teachers out of 50 teachers. The rest are PTA teachers. The Parent Teachers Association collaborates by assisting to pay the temporary teachers with their contributions. Mr. Sadrak Kokolo, PTA president of Government High School Loom, says the problem of this establishment is a lack of government teachers, and they have at least 34 temporary teachers who are paid by the PTA. Chumi Chafang Andre Marie, principal of Government High School Loom, says the problem of the institution is that they don't have teachers and the buildings are very old since it was constructed 48 years ago. Despite all these woes, the occasion was marked with the awarding of prizes to meritorious students who excel academically in the course of the 2017-2018 academic year.
Franklin Mwabe in the report there, presenting a balance sheet of the 2017-2018 school year in the Mongo division of the Littoral region of Cameroon. We now take you to Bamenda Northwest region. As we announced earlier, several examination centers were simply delocalized in that part of the country. Pupils had to travel from one division to another just to take part in the examination as a result of the current socio-political crisis rocking the Northwest and the Southwest regions of Cameroon. It was under tight security that the Certificate d'études primaires and first school living certificate examinations took place in that part of Cameroon. Details with our reporter for me, Armstrong Sander.
Candidates dressed in assorted outfits, high security accommodation centers is the atmosphere that characterize first school living certificate and certificate d'études primaires examinations in the Northwest region. It is the effect of the Anglophone crisis which have grounded activities in the Northwest and Southwest regions of Cameroon. Apart from this, the region has equally recorded a drastic drop in the number of registered candidates compared to last year, according to the regional delegate of basic education, Wilfred Wambeng-Dong. In Mezam and Gokitunja divisions, where the Minister of Basic Education visited, few absences were recorded. However, Mezam division, which has non-relative calm, played host to candidates from other divisions in the Northwest region. A good number of them came from Boyo division and some from Menchum. Many young people, probably school dropouts, could equally be spotted as they benefited from these accommodation centers to do business. Some parents who accompanied their children either hid their faces or refused to talk to journalists. The number of candidates for the first school living certificate this year dropped from 71,240 to 22,058. However, Madame Yusuf Adija Alim said she is satisfied with the conduct of exams in the Northwest region. She equally saluted the massive turnout of the basic education family to accompany her. On his part, Governor Adovlele Lafrique of the Northwest region sounded grateful and satisfied.
Yes, I would like, first of all, to thank the Ministry of Basic Education, who took upon her very schedule to visit us on the occasion of the exams of this year. After having toured the various centers we visited today, I'm very satisfied. Like she said of the school attendance of the candidates here and in the Gokitunja divisions. They are there, disciplined, they are also secured, and we are also happy to see that the parents also are involved. The school family is involved in the organization of this exam. Some of the parents came out to accompany their children to the exam centers and are waiting when time will come to bring them back house. It's a clear testimony of the involvement of everybody in the process. I would like also to thank the team of the Ministry of Basic Education. They have done so well to organize it in such a way that up till now, no incidents were recorded all over the Northwest region. So on behalf of government, I would like to express my deep satisfaction for what we have observed today and thank the security services for their accompaniment of the process.
Any message to the candidates?
Yes, of course, the candidates, I wish them well, hoping that all of them that are writing today will succeed, and that next year they will be going to the secondary school with
a report there on the situation of examinations as far as the first school living certificate is concerned in the northwest region of Cameroon. Now, the SEP and first school living certificate examination disrupted in a locality in Pendamboko after a gendarme officer on his way to supervise the exams was shot by some yet to be identified individuals. It should be noted that Pendamboko is in Banga of the Mongo Division, littoral region of Cameroon, and it is just few meters away from Moyoka in neighboring southwest region of the country, which was hit by gun battle in the early hours of this morning. Locals in Malende, Yoke and other villages were either escaping for safety or they stayed indoors. A lady was reportedly shot in the early hours of this morning as well in Moyoka and is receiving treatment in hospital. Motorbikes were set ablaze purportedly by security forces still in the said locality. At 3 a.m. in the early hours of today, the court of first instance of Moyoka was equally set ablaze by some yet to be identified individuals. It is not known whether it was masterminded or it was an accident. We, of course, will be telling you more on that in our subsequent newscast. We now talk about blood banks in Cameroon, particularly in hospitals that have continued to run dry despite efforts by the public ministry in the country to boost the rate of donation across the national territory. In prelude to the World Blood Donor Day, an NGO which is based in the Southwest Regional Headquarters of Boya has launched a campaign at the regional hospital where 100 liters of blood were donated. Derek Jato tells us more in this report.
As Cameroon will be joining the rest of the world to observe the 2018 edition of the World Blood Donor Day, statistics show that Cameroon is yet to meet up with the quantity of blood needed in hospitals around the country.
About 400,000 pints, that's about 200 liters of blood every year, but we had just about 73,000 pints.
And if the strives met so far can only result to 73,000 pints of blood, far below the needed 400,000 pints of blood, it is an indication that the Ministry of Public Health is not winning in this direction. And today proposals are being made on how the National Blood Transfusion Program can better succeed.
And this can only happen if we have the structures in place which we could store this blood which we collect.
In prelude of June 14, the World Blood Donor Day, close to 200 medical students from the University of Boya Faculty of Health Sciences have embarked on a campaign stressing the need to donate blood, organized by Hero Cameroon, a non-governmental organization that specializes in health education and research. Operations Officer Mr. Domin Sone says their action should be an eye-opener for bigger bodies to emulate.
We are carrying out such activities so that we can encourage maybe other bigger organizations.
At the end of the campaign, 100 liters of blood were donated to both the blood banks of Limbe and Boya regional hospitals.
On to something else, the International Albinism Awareness Day is being commemorated today in Cameroon and the world at large. And as the world is reflecting on the challenges of albinos, this category of people are decrying discrimination and rejection by the society. We spoke to Bernice Tata, that is one of the albinos here in the economic capital Douala, who indicated that she is just one, or there are two of them in a family of 10, and it is practically difficult for them to be accepted by friends, the society at large. She was recounting her difficulties to our reporters today in the city of Douala. They said that they are using this day to say no to discrimination and physical harassment. Let's hear her in the following excerpt. She was speaking to Equinox Television.
Do not like us, do not hate us because we have this color on our us, because it's God that created us also. God did not choose to create this one this way and choose to create the other one the other way. He chose to create everybody in his image and likeness. My mother is black, my father is black. I have brothers. I have 7 brothers and 1 sister. And then in the family, everybody is black. Only I and my elder brother that have yellow color. And in school, we always have difficulties in school because they always say no, look at their color. They don't want to sit beside me. And that's one thing that made me to start hating school, because I always see that I don't have friends in school. Nobody wants to be my friend in school. In school, I was just like I'm alone. I was only with my brother because that was the only person that had the same color with me. But my other brothers did not also neglect me because they know I'm their sister, I'm their blood, that is it. Sometimes they tell me that no, that's not your father. Tell your mother to show you your real father. This not your family. Your mother cheated on your father to have you. So that's how life has been. So in the house, I always have difficulties because I would like to be like the others. Now things are very different, because now I can say I'm so proud of myself now. Now like this, I like my color, because first I did not really like the color, like seriously. But now like this, I can to share you the truth. I'm proud. I'm proud because everybody takes me the way I am. Everybody likes me the way I am. Not that you want to go with somebody, the person say no. Now like this, I have so many people who wish to be with me, and so many girls also wish to be like me. So I'm so proud of myself today.
The society can only accept us when we accept who we are. That is Bernice Tata there, an albino in the economic capital Douala, recounting her challenges but saying that she is happy being who she is. We take you right to 18 News out of Cameroon as the U.S. Secretary of State visits Seoul. South Korea is looking for a clarity on key issues raised during the Trump-Kim summit. South Korea was surprised by President Donald Trump's announcement in Singapore that the U.S. is going to be stopping the war games. Let's have the details with Oro News.
Great progress was made. That was the personal assessment of US President Donald Trump about his historic summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. But with no clear signs of how or when the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula will happen, the summit's main aim, others have been more cautious.
It's a good start, but it's going to be a long journey, and there's a lot of work to be done yet. This is just the beginning of negotiation that could encompass a lot of very complex and difficult issues between the United States and North Korea that will include many of the major powers in that part of the world.
As if to prove that point, the cancellation of military games with South Korea, seen as a significant concession, surprised many.
We will be stopping the war games, which will save us a tremendous amount of money, unless and until we see that the future negotiation is not going along like it should. But we'll be saving a tremendous amount of money. Plus, I think it's very provocative.
Critics in the US have said Trump's given away too much at the meeting, which has handed Kim international standing. In terms of the substance of a signed summit agreement, it merely promises to work towards the goal of denuclearization. But with both leaders now having exchanged invitations to each other's countries, progress on the relationship front is, for Trump, the way forward on more difficult issues. Evelyn Laverick, Euronews.
And we continue with sports football. Morocco is not going to be hosting the 2026 World Cup as anticipated. The country lost the bid to host the 2026 World Cup. The North African country lost to the United North America. The world's football governing body FIFA has announced that the winning country secured 134 votes as against 6 for Morocco. And we continue with sports news, talking about the results of the 25 matches of the League One Championship that took place in stadiums across the country. That was today. Union Sportive of Douala that has defeated Unisports 1-0. Fortuna has lost to Aiding Football Club 0-2. Dragon had an urge over Babutus 1-0. Fucho FC had a 0-0 tie with UMS of Loom. Young Sports Academy had a 1-0 tie with Column. Start to Renard 0, Apages of 1. Egle of Menwa had an urge over Yafut 1-0. Fuvu of Baham equally had a 0-0 tie with Astro Football Club of Douala. New Start of Douala defeated Cotton Sports of Garwa 2-0. That brings us to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. Viewers, so thank you so much for joining us as usual. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.